All right, Dad the Dungeon Master here, and we're going to continue our DM's guide for Phandelver and Below, the Shattered Obelisk. Today we're going to talk about Chapter 2. Now, Chapter 2 is basically the town of Phandalin and the important NPCs there. There is a little mission, a little dungeon at the end of Chapter 2, but pretty much the way the book is set up is that Chapter 2 explains everything you need to know to run and let your players hang out in and move around in the town of Phandalin. Several of those NPCs will have missions for your party. Those missions are explained in Chapter 3. So Chapters 2 and 3 are kind of mixed together because chances are you're going to go on a mission, you're going to come back to Phandalin, maybe you cover 2 missions while you're out and you come back to Phandalin, but one's basically like a description of your hub city and the quest givers and how you get your missions, and one is the actual description of the missions. So it does require some DM work, a little extra DM prep than you needed for Chapter 1 to organize exactly when you're going to give these missions to the players. Obviously the players can choose where they go and who they talk to, but as a DM you usually have a pretty good idea of what your players are going to do, and you can kind of massage what you introduce to them. So my advice is you give them a couple of NPCs that mention a couple of missions. I wouldn't just have them run around and get a quest from all these NPCs all at once and then basically have this huge list of side quests. That's fine if you do it that way, but that's very like metagame, almost like video game style. And while there are good things from video games, you do want it to feel more like D&D, more like a narrative story. So I'll tell you the order and the NPCs in which I would introduce to the characters and how I would try and manage the course of things. So at the start of Chapter 2, you should be 2nd level. As I said in the first video, you know, I had you level up a little sooner than the book says, but by now you're definitely 2nd level. You enter Phandalin. It's a smallish town. It goes up a hill and there's like 50 or so buildings around this hill. It was a town a long time ago, and the book says that like bandits destroyed it and that's how the mine was lost because they were trying to get to this mine or whatever. That is the setup they had when this was in the beginner's box, and this was just the first half of this campaign, the Lost Mine of Phandelver. So the second half of this campaign gets into more like Eldritch horror and mysterious otherworldly things happening. So I would personally, when I've run this entire campaign, I just say that like a mysterious force, you know, destroyed the town, you know, hundreds of years ago. If you wanted to, you could even say that a mysterious black obelisk was pulled from the depths of the mine, and the wizards were trying to figure out what it was for, and they were messing with it, and then the obelisk exploded, destroying the whole town and erasing it, and the pieces were lost and whatever. It's up to you. I personally like that backstory. I've done it. It didn't hurt the story in any way. It didn't really contribute to the first half because this campaign is a little disjointed between the first half and the second half, and that's part of why I would say that, because when it was originally written, the second half, the Eldritch horror half, wasn't here. So the book doesn't do a whole lot to tie that in. So I do think that you should try and tie in more about the mysterious goings on to try and blend the two halves of this campaign together so it doesn't feel so disjointed. So the town now has been re-inhabited within the last, you know, few years. Buildings have been rebuilt. A lot of them are like wooden structures on top, like built up from the old stone foundations. Some of them are brand new buildings. It is evening when the party arrives, and so they're going to need a place to stay as well. So the inn just makes perfect sense. The Stonehill Inn is in the center of town, across from the town green. It's a large building made of field stones and rough-hewn timbers. The innkeeper's name is Toblin. He's youngish. He originally came here to be a prospector, but he quickly realized that he had more experience as an innkeeper than as a prospector. It doesn't say how. Maybe his family owned an inn back wherever he came from. The book mentions that he's been having trouble with some ruffians called the Redbrands, and that he hasn't acted or spoken out against them for fear that his family, his wife and kids, would get retaliated against. The book lists several rumors that you can hear in the common room. So if you guys like hang out and eat and drink some ale or whatever, there'll be a few other people here and you can overhear rumors, like if your party listens for them or if they talk to somebody. Again, I would not tell them all like 5 or 6 rumors all at once. I would let them hear 1 or 2, the ones that you have already decided ahead of time that you want them to try and follow, and then I would work from those. So I'll list the rumors and I'll tell you which ones I think you should start with. The dwarven bartender Elsa mentions that Darren Eatermath, the orchard keeper, was a former adventurer. She also brags that her sister Gwen is a scholar in Neverwinter, and the book mentions that Gwen should arrive in town shortly after the party and will become a major NPC later on. Frida, a gnome weaver, mentions that the Redbrands hassle every business in town except for the Miners' Exchange because they don't want trouble with Halia Thornton, the woman that runs it. Lenar, a human miner, mentions that the Townmaster is wanting some people to deal with some marauders that have been attacking people on the far east end of the Tribord Trail, and that apparently goblins have been seen with the marauders as well. Narth, a human farmer, mentions that Sister Garaele, who takes care of the Shrine of Luck, left a few days ago and returned to town injured. Pip, the innkeeper's son, mentions that his friend Carp found a secret tunnel in the woods, but that Redbrands almost found him and he had to run away. And Toblin himself, the innkeeper, mentions that a guy named Thel Dendrar, who is a local wood carver, stood up to the Redbrands a few days ago when they came to his shop and started bullying his wife. The Redbrands picked a fight with Thel and killed him right there in the street. Dozens of people saw it. They took his body, and since, his wife and children have also gone missing. Of those, the only ones that I would mention hearing tonight are Lady Garaele at the Shrine of Luck and Halia Thornton at the Miners' Exchange. Lady Garaele, because her side mission fits right into the pattern that I'm going to tell you guys in a minute that you should follow as we try and integrate chapters 2 and 3 together. And Halia Thornton, because they're going to go to her shop anyways. It's the only place that sells weapons and armor in town, and her thing that she talks about fits right in with the dungeon at the end of chapter 2. So the pattern that I'm going to build for you guys, that I follow, that I think is the way to go about this, is you send the parties on a side mission that's laid out in chapter 3. Lady Garaele's is the perfect one because you can handle it without combat. It's a quick there and back. And on top of her normal reward, I have her tell the party the location of Cragmaw Castle. When they get back, I throw in some other stuff that leads them to doing the dungeon at the end of chapter 2, and then after that they head to Cragmaw Castle, and after they finish that, then they have time to do all the other side missions from chapter 3. And so I'll explain how we go through all that as we go through it. So after hearing all these rumors in the tavern and eating, the party's probably going to want to take a long rest. They're probably pretty beat up from the goblin hideout. So the next day, Sildar has healed up somewhat, and he's going to be there at the inn. And after he gets completely healed, he's going to go to like the town hall and set up shop there. But Sildar will have 2 things that he wants the party to do. He will want them to find Cragmaw Castle and clear out the goblins there, and he actually offers a 500 gold piece reward for doing that. And he will want the party to help him find Iarno, the wizard, which is the whole reason he came to Phandalin in the first place. Sildar can also remind the party, because they technically already know, even if your players don't remember or even if you haven't actually told them yet, that Elmina Barthen at Barthen's Provisions, the biggest trade outpost in town, is the one who's going to pay them for delivering Grundren's supplies. So your party's going to head over there. Elmina is a younger woman. She says she has a kindly manner. She employs 2 guys, Andrew and Thistle, who help unload and load carts. She will give the party 10 gold pieces each for delivering the supplies, and she has any adventuring gear from the book, from the player's handbook, that costs 25 gold or less. Your party can acquire any of that stuff here. Climbing gear, bed rolls, whatever. So you're going to want to be prepared to roleplay Elmina. Obviously, you already know how to roleplay Sildar. They're probably going to go talk to Halia Thornton at the Miners' Exchange, if you mentioned it the night before, which I think you should go ahead and do. She is... and the Miners' Exchange has weapons and armor. The Barthen's Provisions doesn't. So Barthen's Provisions for adventuring gear, Miners' Exchange for weapons and armor. And Halia Thornton is a little bit older and gruffer, a little more stern. You know, you can tell she's like been a businesswoman and dealt with like, you know, a business world. I personally like to give her an eye patch just to make her seem even more, you know, a little bit aggressive and a little bit gruff. She will ask the players to deal with the Redbrands. That's fine if you have her ask now. You can have her ask later. She offers a reward. But what she really wants is she wants to take over the town in the Redbrand's place. She is actually an agent of the Zhentarim. And the Zhentarim's like this sort of evil, mercenary, spy network that stretches all through the Forgotten Realms. If you have that in your world, make her an agent of that. If you don't have that, you should have that. Because there's always those kinds of people in any fantasy setting. So a player that makes a DC 15 insight check can tell that she has ulterior motives when she asks them to do this. But for now, you can or cannot mention that if you want. Mainly, the players are just having their first day in town, buying some adventuring gear, buying, if they don't have the weapons they want, which they should, maybe buying some weapons and armor. They won't have a whole lot of money. So as they're going around town, getting settled, doing the shopping, whatever, they are probably going to go talk to Sister Garaele at the Shrine of Luck because of the rumor they heard the night before. She is an elf cleric that takes care of the shrine. She is going to offer them a mission because she's going to tell them that the reason why she came back injured is because she tried to negotiate with a hag named Agatha. She's going to tell them that she's a member of the Harpers and that Agatha has information about an ancient spell book that the Harpers are trying to find. She noticed as she fled Agatha's lair that Agatha had an appreciation for shiny baubles. So she's going to give the party a silver comb to offer Agatha to go negotiate with her. In the book, it has her offer them 3 potions of healing, which is a great reward. But what I would do, and what I have done, is have her offer not only the 3 potions of healing, but that she will tell them the location of Cragmaw Castle. So they want to find Cragmaw to save Grundrin. They don't know where it is. Sildar, is looking for the wizards, looking for Cragmaw Castle. They get this mission to go talk to this hag. They go do it. Hopefully everything goes well. When they come back, they get their 3 potions of healing and they find out the location of Cragmaw Castle. What I would do at that point when they come back is then I would start to ramp up what the Redbrands are up to, because Cragmaw Castle is a part of Chapter 3 and it is a harder dungeon than dealing with the Redbrands. The Redbrands hideout is the end of Chapter 2. So no, you haven't talked to every NPC that they talk about in Chapter 2, and no, you haven't visited every location that's talked about in Chapter 2. But as I said, Chapter 2 and 3 are going to kind of be melded together. So you have talked to a few of the NPCs. There's like 9 NPCs in town that you're going to get missions from and talk to. You've talked to Sildar, you've talked to Elmina and Halia, and you've talked to Sister Garaele. You might end up talking to the Townmaster, because your players may go over to the town hall, but that might come after the Redbrand's hideout. So when you come back to town, they get their reward from Sister Garaele. You can have Sildar find them, or you can have the Townmaster find them. His name is Harbin Wester. He's kind of a good-hearted, larger human man, middle-aged. There is no real law in Phandalin. They're not like part of a country. It's basically the Wild West out here. And so they elect a Townmaster to be a judge over disputes and things, but he is a kind-hearted man, but he's kind of a wimp. If you like had talked to him before, he would have tried to downplay what the Redbrands are doing. But what I would do is I would have him like come up to the party and be like, you know, I've tried to get along with these guys. I've tried to look the other way, but enough is enough. And it's at this point that I would have him tell them about the Redbrands murdering Thel while they were gone, while the party was gone, and that, you know, and that a bunch of people saw it, and that since then, Thel's wife and kids have gone missing, like the rumors that they would have heard in the inn. So at that point, even though the party knows about Cragmaw Castle and they want to save Brundren, you've also got this family that the Redbrands have taken prisoner. So the party's going to have to make a choice who they want to save first, which it's always fun to have your party make moral decisions where there's no real right answer. So maybe they go to Cragmaw Castle, maybe they don't. They're going to have to figure out where the Redbrand's hideout is. At this point, you have a few different options of how you can give the players leads toward finding out the Redbrand ruffian's hideout. And you can give them all of these, you can give them one. Either way, you need to get them headed that direction, figuring out where the Redbrands are at and get them to go deal with them. So you can have Redbrands literally attack them in the street, and maybe they capture one of them and make him talk because they've been getting too busy around town, and the Redbrands have had enough. They want to deal with these guys. You can have somebody mention that they like to frequent the Sleeping Giant Tavern, and have them go over there and walk in, and people are like, oh, you're not welcome here. And they're like, yeah, well, we're here, so deal with it. We're about to get on with it. Or you can have Pip run up to him and mention that his friend Carp, that lives at the Alderleaf farm with his mom, found a secret tunnel in the woods. If you want to let your party know about the secret tunnel, that's up to you. It will give them a little bit of an advantage on the Redbrand's hideout, but that's cool. So they can go talk to his mom. She's a sweet halfling lady. She can call Carp in. He can explain that he found a secret tunnel. Redbrand showed up and he had to beat feet or they were going to catch him. And that will wrap up chapter 2, all except for going through the Redbrand's hideout, which I will tackle in the next video, and the few little NPCs that give you quests for chapter 3, and we'll talk about them in the chapter 3 video. See you next time.